Hi everyone and welcome back to the Aquapod. I'm your host Charlie, and in this week's episode I'm joined for a conversation about outdoor swimming with Colleen, Blair MBE and Dr. Corrie Smith. Chat about the health and social benefits of outdoor swimming, some top tips and tricks on how to stay warm outdoors, and some other safety considerations when you're swimming outside. We hope you enjoy this week's episode. Great, so I'm delighted to be joined on the Aquapod again by Colleen Blair, MBE, and by Dr. Corrie Smith as well. How are we both doing today?
Fine, thank you. Yeah, good to be here.
I'm good, thank you. I'm warming up from a swim in the river this morning, so I'm good.
Nice one. It's always good and nice to get out this time of year as well, Colleen, so we'll get onto that a little bit later on. Obviously, we've had you on before, Colleen, so thanks for coming back on. And if you haven't heard Colleen's podcast, I'd recommend you have a wee listen to that. It's our open water podcast that we recorded back in June, I believe. So give that a little listen. Corrie, it's your first time on the podcast, so it'd be good if you could just sort of introduce yourself to our listeners, maybe a bit about yourself and also your background within outdoor swimming as well.
Sure. Thank you for inviting me on. It's a pleasure to be here. So, as you said, I'm Corrie Smith. I'm currently a GP in the north of England, but my kind of open water swimming started up in Scotland when I lived near Loch, and I swam there every day. From that, one of my coach at the time needed an extra pair of hands for the ISA swimming championships at Loch Lomond. And that's when I kind of got dragged into the world of ice swimming and have been doing covering ice swimming competitions and doing medicals for channel swims and ice swimming ever since then.
And I guess you yourself, you enjoy going out and swimming. How long has that been the case that you've been doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've always swum from being a little kid, not competitively, but outside. If there was any water, I'd be in it. But my mum was the same. My granddad, he grew up. He used to tell us how he learnt to swim in the river. So from a family point of view, going into open water's just been a very natural thing. And it wasn't until, like I said, I met my coach that I realised there was people who took it a little bit more seriously. Yeah. And found out more about that community that we have.
Yeah, I think we'll go into that a little bit more detail later on, but I guess there is that sort of culture and community throughout Scotland and throughout the wider UK of swimming in open water. I guess it's just because we've got so much access to it, particularly in Scotland where there's so many lochs and the sea as well. Colleen, before we kind of move on, obviously we've had you on before and spoke about open water swimming, but outdoor swimming, duking, dipping it's a slightly different thing, right? It's maybe not quite as competitive, obviously, as open water swimming, but still an amazing thing to be involved in, and yeah, great way to embrace the outdoors as well.
Yeah, I think there is that competitive channel swimming, outdoor swimming, but the community behind wild swimming or duking or dipping, there's so many different names, but people just enjoying the outdoors, getting out. There's the social aspect, being around, just meeting other people, being able to switch off, having that calming effect. That it's such big communities around the country, and even like traveling with work, you can often find a community that don't mind you just jumping in and dipping with them. Whether it's like this morning, it was 10 minutes just floating, having a chat, rather than actually having a swim. And I think it's amazing that people can use the waterways that we have as in a safe way for lots of different reasons.
It's one of the things that I found absolutely wonderful about the community is that you have people who will literally float for 5 mintes swimming alongside people who are ex-Olympians and have done really amazing things, and everyone's welcome and equal, which don't think there's many sports where you get that.
Yeah, I guess it's that kind of, it's the mix of the benefits of being outdoors, of feeling part of nature, but also that kind of inclusive nature as well, as you mentioned, Corrie, of yeah, just being with a group of people who might do it slightly differently. You know, you might float, like you say, or you might, you know, swim for, say, a kilometre or whatever it is, but it's just about getting out and enjoying it, isn't it? Colleen, you obviously swim pretty much every day, I think I'm right in saying, outdoors. What makes you do that? I mean, a lot of people listen and go, wow, that's, you know, A, quite a commitment, and B, you know, maybe wouldn't do that themselves in an outdoor setting. What do you love about it, and what makes you do it?
I think there's a couple of reasons. It's probably a bit of a habit now. For me, it's my calm place. It's where I can go and switch off. My head never switches off, but in the water, there's something about that cold, the loch being black. It just like silences your mind, and for me, it just allows me to breathe. It's probably a bit of a reset if you've had a busy day, or you know you've got a lot on. Going for a dip to have a chat with somebody and offload, or going for a long swim and just switching off and having that peace and that calm is probably what I use it for. But as I say, sometimes I can be the one that stands waist deep chatting for
Yeah.
10-15 minutes and then go, do you know what, I'm too cold, I'm not swimming today. But I'm also the one that might go off for 3-4 hours on their own quite happily, with somebody following me, just to have my time. So I suppose it just depends, but for me it's probably a reset most days.
I saw you'd posted, Colleen, I think yesterday or the day before, a cool photo of the leaves kind of floating. I think it was in the was it in the river, or was it? Yeah. I just thought it looked so cool. It was like something out of a movie, you know, the way the leaves were kind of falling down, I guess, and it just felt so autumnal. And Corrie, I guess that's an amazing part of outdoor swimming, is that you see all the seasons, right? And particularly coming into the colder months, you get out more than you maybe would otherwise.
Oh, definitely. And I think you know, that awareness of the seasons changing, and when we're in a world where everything's artificial, we've got artificial lights, where our body clocks are kind of made to work artificially, having that connection with nature and appreciating the leaves changing, and the you know, seeing the buds on the trees in the spring, and it just makes you so much more grounded and connected. And like you say, in terms of getting out when you wouldn't otherwise, all these winter challenges that come through, like I do the January daily dip, and that definitely gets me through. It's almost a selfish reason for doing it, because I know that drags me through January, and then by the time you get to February, things are starting to get lighter, and you feel like you've made it through the winter. So yeah, that mix of camaraderie and challenge definitely helps pull you through the darker months.
Yeah, I guess that's quite an interesting thing to do. And I know at Scotch Swimming, actually, quite a few of us do a running challenge, believe it or not, in January. But it's the same idea. It's getting out every day, and it's sort of the community side, but also the fitness side and the mental benefits as well of that, of course, as well. I guess, Corrie, how often do you go out swimming normally, and is it a big part of your life still as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it varies. My job doesn't allow for me to go as often as I'd like, but if everything's going smoothly, it'll be 3 or 4 times a week, whether that's a mix of a longer swim or just a quick dip. I think you are spoilt in Scotland. Obviously, we don't have the same access privileges that you do, so it does make it a bit harder to finding places, but we have our little spots that we can get out to. Yeah.
And you both already sort of brought up the benefits of the kind of the social nature and community nature of outdoor swimming. But what does that look like to you, Corrie, and how does that kind of manifest itself in terms of you going and having a swim?
So I'm part of a little group that swims on Friday mornings, and it's such an inspiring group of people. And we've seen each other through all sorts of things. Everyone's, you know, personal lives. We also, if there's something wrong with one of our own, we really pull together. Like, one of our swimmers sadly had a recurrence of breast cancer and died.
Mm.
But just
Wow.
we all agreed that the kind of sisterhood that came out of supporting her, helping her, just having little dips and then coming together at a funeral was just, it was incredibly beautiful, and something that we wouldn't have had we not had our swimming group. Kind of on a slightly different, more medical side of it, I was actually talking to someone who'd set up their social prescribing group had set up open water swimming, and so they have people there for like the physical side of it, but also the mental health support, and they've had an amazing response to it and seen amazing results. And I know certainly that's something that I really wish I could prescribe.
Yeah, of course.
Outdoor swimming group for anybody who needed it, because I think it would work absolute wonders.
Yeah, it's quite a touching story, that, actually, and I guess is that shared experience, isn't it, of going through what can be quite a challenging thing with outdoor swimming, and feeling that cold and knowing how to control it and things that brings you together as a community, I guess, as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I think when people get in, you've got all those shrieks and the encouragement. And I think one of the most lovely things you see is when someone comes along for their first dip and they're really scared and they don't know if they can do it, and everyone's giving them bits of encouragement like, come on, you can do it. And that happens with complete strangers as well. I was at a sauna the other day and there was a girl who came on her own and was really reluctant, and nobody else had met each other before really, and we were all encouraging her, and she got in, she got a big round of applause. Just absolutely beaming. So it doesn't have to be close-knit sets of friends. I think just the nature of it pulls people together, and gets the best out of people. The
sauna thing's obviously something that's kind of gathering popularity as well, isn't it? The sort of hot and then cold, and I've done it myself and I actually really enjoyed it. I think it's I can see why it's so popular. Colleen, you obviously we've already mentioned you swim pretty much every day, and you do it with different groups, and your job at Scottish Swimming means that quite often you're round about the country. So what are your experiences like of the benefit of that, I guess, meeting new people and sharing those experiences with them as well?
I think it's quite a challenging one for me, because although I've got a lot of experience, I'm still I like the loch, don't get me, that's my happy place, and the sea sometimes scares me, and I think we need to respect the water. So I always put a shout out on some of the social media groups to basically ask, is there a swimming group in the area? Does somebody mind joining me? And like the last time I was at Orkney, I did a session with the club, and one of the dads is from the triathlon club, and I was like, oh, where can I go and swim? I need to get an hour in. And he's like, I'll happily come out with you. I'm always looking for somebody. And I was like, you sure? So he got away from work so that he could take me for a swim. And we went around one of the wrecks. And it was just amazing that he was just like, yeah, he was so excited that somebody else wanted to go with him. But for me, it was great because it gave me a bit of confidence, actually. So the next day I went for a swim on my own in that area because he helped me understand where I need to be careful on. Thursday, one of the coaches was like, oh, you can swim at the beach at this part of the tide. So it's amazing. I'm probably quite bad. I don't let on what I've done and that I'm a swimmer. I normally just say I'm in the area, I would like a dip, and then just don't kind of say what I've done, because to me it is about getting to know other people and other people's stories. And then people start asking, and then they're like, oh, because sometimes people are intimidated if you've swam a lot, but actually it's me, the person, that's wanting to go for a dip. It's not me, the swimmer, that's wanting to go and swim for hours. So I've met a lot of friends from just randomly turning up at places, asking for a safe place to swim and joining in with the people. Yeah,
and it's not a competition either, is it? It's about just enjoying it and feeling the benefits as well.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just getting out there. Yeah, it is meeting people in a safe environment, well, safe as you can. But it's amazing, the stories of all the different people and like mix of ages and background, size and shapes. It doesn't matter. Nobody really cares. Everybody just wants to go and relax in the water.
Corrie, you mentioned about the mental health benefits, obviously, of outdoor swimming, and but there is obviously the kind of physical health benefits as well. As a GP, you will have, you'll see the benefits of that. What are some of those, and what are maybe some of the reasons that people would do that to support their physical health? So
in terms of it being properly evidence-based, it's still very much in its infancy. So that's probably why we can't prescribe it. We can't push it as we want to. Everything's still fairly anecdotally based. But there are some, if you kind of delve into the literature, there are some evidence that it's can reduce inflammation in the body over time. People's blood pressure can reduce. But I've also heard stories from coaches where they've had people with things like MS who came to them really, really struggling with their symptoms, and after a season swimming, the mobility and the symptoms have improved a lot. And certainly from my point of view, I have POTS, which is where your heart rate can shoot up, and I was having a particularly bad time, and I'd been put on these various medications, and I'd managed to get myself back into the water, and within a week or two of going in daily, I'd been able to take off one of the medications. Wow. So I think there's lots and lots of benefits. I mean, you'll hear lots of people talking about it. They do it for pain, they do it for their mental health, so many things. But because there's so many variables, it's really hard to pin it down into a research study. But hopefully, there's more and more studies come in. It's gaining traction. There's a lot done by the University of Portsmouth. So it will be a case of keeping an eye on those, and and then hopefully we'll get enough together to be able to say, actually, these are the absolute proven benefits of it, and then be able to fund more access to swimming.
Yeah, it is really exciting, and I guess the sport of outdoor swimming has really grown in popularity as well. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, it's always been a bit of a culture in the UK of dipping your toes in or going to the beach and having a duke, but it seems to really have grown over the past couple of years. So hopefully we see that, and we see the kind of health benefits associated to that improving as well.
Yeah, absolutely, and it is just booming, and I think it's excellent to talk about its benefits. We need to be mindful about people doing it carefully as well. So get it out to as many people as possible, but with the safety aspects as well in mind.
That's a nice segue, actually, into the kind of safety side of things, and obviously it is so important. And I guess actually with outdoor swimming, quite often it is little groups, like you've said, Colleen, and there's a range of understanding, there's a range of experiences as well. So Colleen, as someone who is incredibly experienced, what are some of the safety considerations that you yourself would do when you are sort of looking to swim outside?
I think it's knowing your limits and your ability, I think, is the important thing. And sometimes as a group, people get chatting when they're swimming, and because everybody else around them is okay, they don't want to be the one to say, can we turn back, I'm getting cold. And I think for me, it's people understanding what their limits are, and also understanding the people that you're swimming with, what their limits are too, and looking out for each other. And sometimes it's easier to do a small swim and then another small swim than doing a longer one and then everybody being too cold coming back. So for me, it's being mindful of your own levels and the people that you're around you. For me, I try and go out, like if I'm not at my usual swim spot, then I will try and tag in with a local group so people know. If I'm doing a longer swim, so not in the winter but more in the warmer months, I've got a tracker so somebody knows that I'm going in, coming out, and can follow me. Not ideal. You do want to have somebody with you if you can. But definitely going into the winter months, it is about buddying up, whether it's somebody on shore who knows what to do if something goes wrong and can help you, because there's no point in taking somebody that can't cope with the cold. Ideally, you want to swim with a group. It's also making sure there's safe entry and exit points, and what happens if you have to get out, not where you're expecting to. Is it safe to get back to where your clothes are? Tow floats, so that something bright so other users can use. I was at a local walk recently and was surprised. It was really good to see there's somebody who wasn't that confident a swimmer, so she had a buoyancy aid on and she was quite happy bobbing about, but because it wasn't her usual swim spot, she wore a buoyancy aid so that she was safer. And I think there are a lot of people who see the benefits and think, I'm not a strong swimmer, but I need the cold. It's how do we balance that safety element and getting that fix from the cold or from the group. Weather forecast for me, water quality is massive, and it is just being aware of the weather. Has there been a lot of rain, or if it's a windy day? If you're questioning your head, should I go in, shouldn't I not? It probably means you shouldn't be going in. I know a lot of people that just go, do you know what, I'll just play in the waves because I want that feeling. But actually, what happens if something goes wrong? So for me, it's thinking the conditions. If you're having to think 2 or 3 times, it's probably a no-go. So yeah, letting people know where you're going. Group where possible. You're having your toe float. Swimming caps, like it drives me mental when people go with not a woolly hat, not a swimming cap, just nothing. Your hair gets wet and then your head gets cold and then you get cold. So actually, a woolly hat if you're doing head up, breaststroke, great, or a swimming cap, it makes such a difference. And the last thing probably is, as we're coming into the winter, I put my clothes in my bag in the order I put them on in, so that when I get out, if I'm a little bit cold, you don't have to think. You pick up your towel, then you pick up your underwear, then you pick up your t-shirt and your trousers. As silly as it sounds, if it's all in order, it takes so quicker to get changed than if you're having to root through your bag. And my last thing is I do like a hot water bottle in my bag so my clothes are nice and cozy for when I get out.
Yeah, that's I think I would be the same as well, to be honest. But I guess what it is then is it's not it's not one safety consideration, it's loads, isn't it? And obviously you don't need to do all those things, right? There's some that are obviously more important than others, but it's using your common sense, I guess, and questioning each individual aspect of the swim. Do the conditions look good? Is the weather good? How many people am I around? Is the location safe as possible? You mentioned there, Colleen, about kind of entry and exit points. What would a safer entry and exit point look like?
I suppose it's different for each place you swim. So where we swim, it's quite rocky underfoot. So some people wear neoprene socks to keep their feet warm and to walk over the stones, but it could be quite difficult, especially if you're colder. So like we wear either sliders or Crocs or flip-flops, but we've got clips on our toe floats so that we can take them off, clip them on, and then put them back on. So it's safer for us getting in and out having footwear than trying to balance over stones. I think it's also thinking, is it slippy? So if it's been raining, is it like muddy and slidey? Because then that's not great for getting in and out. We shouldn't be diving in the winter, especially if we don't know the depths. We shouldn't be diving in anyway or jumping. But going from the different temperatures, actually wading in, although it's sometimes torture, is the safest way to get in to get your body acclimatized. It's also thinking about underwater hazards. So where we went in the river this morning, we checked everything before we went in because there has been a lot of wind and rain the last couple of weeks. We were checking before we went in. There was nothing under the water before we got in. If you are swimming from A to B, where's your clothes going to be? Because you're going to have something warm for getting in before you get in, but you're going to have some warm for when you get out. So actually, how is that going to work? Sometimes where we swim in the winter, we'll leave warm stuff at one end of the venue, walk to the other end and swim to our warm stuff. Or we sometimes just put emergency towels, so if somebody has to get out halfway, they've got a towel to put on until they get to their clothes. So there's lots of different things. And I think the sea, it is more complicated because you need to understand the currents and the tides, where you enter, where you exit. So like near Dundee, there's one bit is great at low tide, but the other bit's much better at high tide. So again, your entry and exits depends on the tides.
Corrie, obviously you are a GP and you have helped as a medic and been involved in ice swimming as well. So I guess as we go into the colder months, I mean, it might not always be as cold as some of those swims, but is there anything different that people maybe need to look out for when, it hits January as you do your dipping challenge and things like that?
Yeah, I think it's to be aware that the difference in temperature can affect you much more than you realize. Like for me, the difference between 5 and 8 degrees, I feel like is quite a drop. Whereas if you're someone who's saying, like 18 and 15 degrees, you've got to be mindful. It's not just a little drop, it's a big drop.
Yeah.
And just to really listen to your body, really take and be mindful that your body will respond differently to the cold on any given day. So one day you may be able to be in for X amount of time at 5 degrees, but the next day when you may be a wee bit dehydrated or maybe you're fighting off a cold or you didn't sleep too well, maybe you're going to only be able to go in for half that time. So I know there's this really dangerous thing of a minute per degree that seems to have got into law, which really needs dispelling, because it's not, that will either stop people getting the benefits they could or put people in quite dangerous conditions, because there'll be some people where it's 10 degrees they can do 5 minutes and that's absolutely fine. And then we've got some really hardcore ice swimmers who can be in for 45 minutes at 3 degrees and they're absolutely fine. So it's so much down to the individual. It's so much down to the individual on the day, and we see it in the competitions. There's people who will be absolutely fine, and then one day we've got them in the competition and they're having a really difficult recovery, and it's because they've ignored a sniffle or whatever else. They're really stressed about something, they're due on the period, all sorts of things can add in. So it's just being really mindful of how your body responds, getting out before you're cold, and remembering there's no bravado. If you need to wear the thickest wetsuit you can find and 2 neoprene hats, that's absolutely fine. If that's what's needed for you to enjoy the water. You shouldn't be kind of looking at anybody else's targets. All that matters is that you're able to enjoy the water safely and exit safely and have a safe experience with your friends, because if something goes wrong, it's not just you that's at risk, it's the people around you as well who might be trying to help you.
Yeah, I was going to say as well, obviously as a professional, you'll know the signs to look out for when someone's maybe in trouble. What are maybe some of the things that people can look out for and those around them if they're in a group, for example, that are maybe signs that things are going wrong?
Yeah, so there's the umbles. So you've got like you're fumbling, your coordination starts to go, you're mumbling, you might not be able to speak properly. People might seem like they're a bit drunk, they might get a bit more confidence. So if someone's going, I'm starting to feel really warm now, that's probably a sign that they should be getting out. So yeah, a slow rate, stroke rate slowing down, if you're kind of swimming properly, if you like, and people just looking a bit more disorientated, but hopefully you get out before then. I know some people, I do touching my fingers and thumbs together to check my hands properly working, and if I can't do that or if my hand's starting to claw, I know that's definitely time to get out. So it's about listening to your own body. I used to go by my lungs feeling cold, but I realise now that's past the point of where I should be getting out. I know there's definitely in the past there's definitely been a few times of do as I say, not as I do, and I'm quite lucky to come out unscathed. So there's the Outdoor Swimming Society has got a really good summary of things to look out for for winter swimming. So to look at things written down, that's probably a good place to go. And I know Swim Wild Alice Goodridge, she's trying to collect a load of tips from winter swimmers to give a bit of a guide on top tips for keeping safe and warm. So that's another thing to look out for.
I think the message from both of you has been really quite interesting about how individual it is as well. So obviously for some people, what they do might work really well for them, but for others that would be totally unsafe. So it is about knowing yourself, and if you are a beginner, just becoming more experienced and not going in straight away and trying to overdo it. And I think that's probably the most important message. isn't it? But Colleen, you'd said a little bit about some of your top tips already about your hot water bottle and about having clothes in the right order and things. Is there any other top tips from the both of you that that you think are quite good for people that they maybe wouldn't have thought about and that they can maybe start using themselves?
I think it's making sure you get changed, because sometimes you come out and you think you're all right and you still get cold. So you keep on getting cold before you start warming up again. So for me, it's getting changed. As soon as you're out, get changed. And if somebody's struggling, get changed, then help them. Because by the time you've helped your friend, you're probably going to be in a worse state than them. So get yourself, as long as they're okay, if you can put a big jacket on and then help, great. If not, get yourself changed quickly and then go and help them, because you're probably going to be better help to them then. It is just knowing your body and understanding. I know I've got probably 4 or 5 minutes before I start shivering. If I've been in too long and I'm going to get the shivers, I've probably got that 5 minutes to get changed before they're going to hit. So I know I need to get changed and do that. Corrie saying about the fingers made me laugh, because I do that, because I know when I've been in too long, you have to concentrate to take your goggles off. And when you know you're concentrating with your fingers, you're like, yeah, I've stayed too long this time. So it's finding out little things about you so that you know, but it's also about those people around you and understanding what their things are to help them. Some of my groups swear by little, the drawstring rucksacks you get. They put hot water bottles in them and put them on their backs over their t-shirts or their jumpers and then their jackets on, and they feel that warms them up quite well. The hot water bottles for your hands. Everybody's got their own little tweaks, and I think it's finding what works for you, but also doing a bit of research and understanding actually what is the best ways to warm up. And my last thing would be, don't drive until you're properly warmed up. The amount of people I see shivering and jumping in their cars is not a great idea. Make sure you've got a warm drink and you've warmed up before you jump in your car.
And Corrie, what about you?
So I think firstly, when you're thinking about warming up and staying warm, you have to generate enough heat to counter the heat that you're losing, to at least match it or have more than it. And this after drop, you're going to, as Colleen said, you're going to be losing heat when you get out. You've cooled down and that cooling continues. But you've also got to be mindful that not to get anything really hot straight away, because then you have the vasodilation and there's a high risk of fainting. So yeah, it's really important to get your clothes on before the after drop hits. Like Colleen, I'm a big fan of a hot water bottle. I have one of the long thin ones and wrap a scarf. So if you stick to the either end in your boots, then you get nice warm boots to put on, and you pack your clothes around it, put it in an insulated bag. Everything's nice and warm when you're getting dressed. And if it's wrapped in a scarf, you can tie it around your back so that it's a bit like the drawstring bag thing. So that helps warm your core. If someone's struggling, you can if you put hot water bottles in on the belly, under their armpits and in the groin, that will help get the heat to the core. Lots of layers on. It's easy to put on layers. So baggy, scruffy trackies are better than some nice leggings that you're going to spend half an hour trying to pull up your legs. So get dressed, help yourself before you help others. Warm kit and put it on quickly.
I think there's lots of kind of great messaging and lots of great tips for people there that hopefully they can use. And while we're talking about safety and that's obviously the most important thing, but we don't want to discourage people either. We want people to go out and enjoy the benefits and really just give it a go, but by doing it in the safest way. And I guess it's any outdoor sport, whether you enjoy hiking or skiing, they're all the same. You need to understand the risks and make sure you're wearing protective equipment and things like that in those. So it's just the same thing, but for outdoor swimming. Colleen, while we've got you on, I thought it'd be good to ask about your most recent swim. You're obviously part of a group that swam the Thames. Do you want to talk us through that and what that was for?
Yeah, it was through Surfers Against Sewage. There was 8 swimmers, so it was 4 teams of 2, so 2 swimmers from Ireland, England, Wales, and Scotland. We did a really attempt, the length of the Thames, starting at Lechlade, and the idea was to swim continuous until we got to Putney. My geography is going to totally fail me now. Putney, and then we were kayaking the last bit. The swim was to promote or push the message to Westminster about the water quality, the amount of sewage overflow that goes into our rivers, into our seas across the whole country. The swim was about highlighting, actually, can we do the longest relay, world record for the longest relay, but the message behind it was much more powerful one about actually raising awareness about water pollution in the UK, and the government need to start acting so that people can safely use the waterways. Now, the swim, we had to get out at different sections because the water quality was too poor. So at Henley, it wasn't safe for us to swim, and in a couple of other sections towards London, there'd been rain, so there was overflow sewage, raw sewage getting pumped into the river. So we got back in the boat, and then went to the next lock. The last section of the swim, there was a big debate on the boat whether it was safe to swim. So the agreement with all the swimmers, who were swimming our pairs in our countries, was if it was amber, the swimmers could make the choice. If it was red, dangerous because of the pollution levels, we were no swim. It was amber, and there was a bit of a debate: should we all finish the swim and risk it, or should we not? And when I say risk it, it was E. coli and lots of other things that could be going in the rivers. Now, for me, I do realise I do solo swims. This was very different. Like, we hardly slept. Food, the boat broke down, so the logistics were a nightmare. But what really surprised me was the amount of communities that came out to support us. So the rain was torrential, and we were standing at the locks waiting on the boats. So you swam, got out, had to stand until the boats got through the locks. And these locals had come out to support us, to thank us for raising the awareness because of how poor the water is in certain areas. A local councillor swam with me at Westminster, not Westminster, Windsor. A local councillor swam a part of it in the dark. So very different. But there is now an app through Surfers Against Sewage that shows any sewage release across the whole of the UK now. And it's been quite an eye-opener for me since that app opened. And it is, if it's heavy rain and you're swimming where there's farms, actually, what is washing into the river where you're swimming, or the loch?
Corrie, I guess you coming in on this one a little bit from a health perspective, how dangerous can it be, I guess, in certain situations when there maybe has been heavy rainfall and people maybe aren't aware of the risks round about that kind of thing?
I mean, for anyone, getting E. coli is going to be dangerous and cause your health problems. But, you know, if you think about a lot of the people who are doing wild swimming, there's a lot of people with a lot of health problems. And if you've got someone who's, say, who's immunosuppressed or anything like that, they're going to cop it much worse than your average population. And I think, you know, it's something we have to take seriously. It's something that's, you know, it's an extra, if you're planning a swim, an organised swim, it's an extra consideration. So I mean, Colleen will know, a few years ago at Loch Tay, we had to pull the Scottish Winter Swimming Championship to a close early because of sewage release from septic tanks. Which meant it was just not safe to have anyone in the water with the raw sewage. I did a Windermere swim a couple of months ago, and again, that was touch and go whether we'd actually be able to go ahead because of the amount of E. coli detected.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess it's just, it feeds into the message that we were saying earlier again about you just need to be, it's another thing to be aware of and understand the risk of, but obviously not an ideal situation going forward, certainly. But Colleen's swim bringing that a little bit more into the kind of public understanding as well. Just before we wrap up, I thought it'd be good to maybe just hear your thoughts on someone that's maybe wanting to get into outdoor swimming or wild swimming or duking or whatever you want to call it. What should their first course of action be, and how should they approach that in that situation?
I think find a group or find a responsible coach. I think it's really important to see if someone's acting as a guide, to see what qualifications they've got.
Yeah.
Because anyone can call themselves a guide. So check they've got the life saving, that they've got the coaching awards and an understanding of safety. Have a read up on, like I said, Outdoor Swimming Society, to have an idea, and then go with a group. And I think I'll speak for a lot of swimmers that it's an absolute delight to take someone for their first swim. It's, if you get in with a caring group, they'll support you, and it can be absolutely life-changing.
I think, it is finding a local group, and a group that, like where I am, there's 3 or 4 groups, so it's a group that fits with you, I would say. But it is finding somebody with experience, and don't just believe because they swim they know everything, because we only know what we know and we don't know what we don't know, and sometimes people just have to learn on their way. But it is find a local group. If there's a venue, I know in England there's more venues open to have like lifeguarded swims. In Scotland there are a few, so it is seeing, is there a venue you can go to, but find a local group. I would say if you're going to start now, so that when the water's getting colder, your body kind of acclimatizes. If you're looking at starting in January, February, probably wait to April, May until it's starting to get warm again, and then go through the summer and then into the winter is probably a better way to start than starting right in the cold. But it's listening to your body. And as I say, sometimes I go in and I last 3 minutes and I'm like, I'm out. And then other times I'm in the longest. I sometimes turn up to a swim and just go, do you know what? I'm not feeling it today. I'll just stand and chat, support everyone else and get out. So don't be scared that if you don't go in, don't be scared if you just stand up to your waist as a starting point and just gradually build up.
Brilliant. I think there's a lot of interest in chatting there for people, and a lot of top tips as well about how to approach it if it's something you're interested in. So thank you to the both of you, and really appreciate you coming on the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks again for listening to this week's episode, and thank you to Colleen and Corrie for popping on. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or leave us a like and a comment on our YouTube channel. Until next time, thank you very much.